Welcome back to V and M Transmissions. I'm M.
And I'm V.
And we're going to pick up where we left off last time, starting the revolution. V was going to start the revolution. How did that get on, V?
Well, a bit slow.
So what you're saying is you didn't start the revolution?
Well, I might have helped, but...
Has the revolution started?
I think so, yeah.
Did it start before our conversation?
Yeah, but I put my 2 pennyworth in to get it on its way.
Okay. What was that 2 penneth then?
I can't remember. Sorry.
This is how the revolution's going to take place. With a lot of people not being able to remember what they did. It will be an unconscious revolution, not a conscious revolution. What about the revolution then? So, is it a consciousness revolution?
I think so, yeah. Other revolutions can take place, but the one that needs to take place is a revolution in consciousness. I haven't fully defined in my own head what this actually means at this time, which isn't very helpful. But just the notion that that's what needs to take place.
So when people talk about consciousness, it's sort of, it's a cloudy kind of thing, isn't it, that floats about. Mm-hmm. But when we're actually talking about what we actually mean, I suppose, is self-awareness, awareness of the impact of your existence, awareness of exercising more choice about your existence, exercising more control over your existence, more awareness of yourself, all these types of things. In order for me to test the theory of that dream catcher being there, I don't go about looking at the dream catcher and going, is it there? Yes. So that proves the theory. No. In order for me to test the theory that dream catcher is there, I have to try and prove that it's not there. And if I fail to try and prove that it's not there, then I have no choice left but to assume that it is there. But that is still just a theory. That's the scientific method. I have to try and prove that dream catcher is not there. How would I try and prove that dream catcher is not there?
And is that across the board with all sciences?
That is across the board, all science. That's the whole definition of science. That's Science 101. Yeah? And people forget that.
People don't know that.
Well, they might have known it at one point. It should be taught in all fucking schools because that's the scientific
It's not
method.
though, is it? It's not though.
No, they just take the results of scientific theories and teach them as dogma. But no, there should be at least a small point in the course which says the scientific method is this.
But I think there's a problem there. And the problem is that if you tell that to people, then you lose a certain amount of control.
Yes.
So this is where it comes back to the revolution, I suppose. Because if you told that to school children, ultimately, when you learn science or any subject at school, it's basically a case of getting told a set of points that you then have to regurgitate. And if you manage to do that successfully, then you're intelligent. If you don't, then you're not, basically. That's what it's about. It's about authority. Memory. It's about memory. It's about taking in what you've been told by an authority figure. Yeah? You're never going to get a school that says, actually, kids, this is all just theory. Nobody knows if it's actually the truth. Make of it what you will.
No, I mean, it's not.
You're not going to get a school saying that, are you? Especially a state school.
You will. There's a lot of scope for saying, look, we're going to do an experiment and you're going to find out the results of this experiment. Of course, experiments can go wrong, especially with school kids. I remember my physics teacher always used to do experiments at the front of the class and they always went wrong. And he had a degree in practical physics, yeah, which is basically experimental physics. So, it wasn't just a degree, he had a PhD in practical physics.
It's not just science where this occurs, actually. It happens extremely badly in history as well.
Oh, well,
and I remember that, oh my God. And obviously RE.
Archaeology maybe is a science, but history, I don't think anyone is claiming is a science.
But having said that, at school, when you're taught any area of history, it's taught to you like it's a fact. That's it. That's what happened.
I think you can apply the scientific method to all walks of life. Yeah, you can say, I am going to try and disprove that something is right. Yeah, I'm going to try and disprove the hypothesis. I'm going to try and disprove that, I don't know, the Allies won the Second World War. That's what I'm going to try and disprove. And if I couldn't find a way of disproving that, then...
I'm sorry?
Whatever.
You can edit that if you want.
My point is that you can take anything and go, right, I'm going to try and disprove it. Anything in history, anything in the world, anything you like, I'm going to try and disprove it. Another thing that I've covered lately... If I fail to disprove it, I have satisfied myself.
Another thing that I've covered lately as well with history...
So this psychology that we're brought up with...
A revolution in consciousness is what needs to happen.
Yeah. So this is a psychological issue. And knowing that it's a psychological issue, it is still the responsibility of the mind, of the person whose mind that psychology is in.
But I think the first step is to realise that that's what's happening, and a lot of people just ain't even there.
Well, that's because they're being successful, or partly anyway.
Not really.
I mean, if you've spent half your life acquiring wealth and security and whatnots and all that, you're not going to think to yourself, don't want this anymore. You've put so much effort in.
No, but a lot of people do that. A lot of people do jack it in, don't they?
I don't know.
Several years down the line, they sort of think, I've had enough of this rat race. I can't keep up with it.
Well, maybe. But what I'm saying is the people who haven't reached that point are going to be thinking, I put so much energy into this that I can't just quit, Yeah. There's that idea of you've invested so much into something, you don't want to back out, because then that means that you were an idiot to invest in the first place. I mean, it's psychology again, isn't it? So, practically speaking, what's to do? If we meditate, we can release ourselves a little bit from our own...
Yeah, I think that's helped.
Stupidity.
Yeah. I think that's definitely helped me.
And actually try to redefine the psychology that exists within ourselves, to maybe let it go, start to let it go, and we can, educate others about alternative forms of different lifestyle that we can live. Start to live a different lifestyle. If we are successful, tell other people how we did it, make examples of ourselves.
I think that is the key as well, is that lead by example rather than try and force things on people. It's about more and more people trying to just, lead by example.
Because I think
get your stuff out there.
That's why people do behave this way, this kind of conformist kind of way, is that we know it's going to work. You got an example, you got a model.
It's going to work in some respects, yeah.
Yeah, you've got an example, a model, a person, an idol you can copy. You just copy them, and you know that mechanism, that path's already been trod. You're just going to copy it, So that's why it's important, I think, for people who do manage to successfully live some form of alternative lifestyle to give details and show other people how to do it, so people can copy them, because it's natural, I think, for people to copy.
Yeah.
And that's all culture really is, just people copying each other anyway. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So what about us then?
I think that the problem with M and I is that we're basically drifters. We're basically dreamers that as a couple find it very hard to set anything in stone. Just not very good at it. So the things that have happened because we haven't planned anything else to happen, I guess, really, more or less. And I'm definitely interested in learning certain things, even doing certain things. But yeah, I think I've said this before, it's all about drive, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is when we talk about drive here, we're not talking about what we normally consider drive is to be gaining. We're talking about drive was to be losing. And there's a difference. Because you don't really need to drive to lose, you just need to release. Decide to release. Whereas you do need to drive to gain. You do need to push to gain. I think you just need to release to, really. You know?
I think a lot of the reason why it doesn't move forward at a quicker pace is fear as well. Got to be honest.
Why what doesn't move forward at a quicker pace?
Some of our ideals in our personal life.
I don't know what they are.
No, I don't think they've been well enough defined even. That's just us, isn't it?
But I think minimalism
That's definitely something that's caught my attention in the last couple of years.
You can put minimalism to nearly everything we're saying. You can just say that's a type of minimalism. Oh, we're minimising our beliefs. We're minimising, if you're talking about deconditioning, you're minimising your beliefs. Oh, you're minimising your stuff. You're going to minimise your consumption. You're going to minimise your clothing. Mm-hmm. All this is just driving towards a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And minimalism is not, as we know, is a process.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a process of taking off layers. And it's a process of releasing what we're holding on to, not trying to get more.
Yeah.
So that's all it's really going to take, just to release. I was in the car today at lunchtime, just sitting there looking out at the field, and I was thinking, what could I eat? What could I eat here? There's some trees, didn't fancy that. There's a lot of grass, meh. I was wondering, can I eat grass? But then I noticed some nettles. I thought, yeah, I can definitely eat nettles. I looked it up on the internet, you can definitely eat nettles. And there's loads of nettles. So actually, there is a food supply of a form in nettles. And then I thought, what else could I eat? I don't know in fact, but I know how to know. I could just sort of try a little bit and see what it tastes like, and see how I felt about it, and whether I wanted to eat some more, whether I thought it was possible to eat some more.
Psychedelic trip coming up.
And I sort of looked around and I thought, well, yeah, this isn't too bad. Not everyone could do this. Not everyone could do that, because really there's too many people in this country and there's not enough things that grow from the ground that we can eat.
Which just goes to show you how unsustainable it all is.
Yeah,
really, doesn't it?
If you said, instead of planting a tree that doesn't bear fruit, let's plant trees that only bear fruit. Why the hell are we even bothering to plant trees? To offset our fucking CO2, which aren't fruit trees. That's stupid, isn't it? And then what about plants in the ground? Flowers. They look nice. Great. I suppose they're alright for bees and if you want to make honey. But, why not plant plants we can eat? Why not have bushes of basil and rocket and spinach just growing all over the place? Yeah? Nettles are not too bad. You can eat them.
Anyway, a lot of the bushes in the countryside are blackberry bushes, aren't they?
Yeah, blackberries. Exactly, brambles. You wouldn't think, oh yeah, I can eat brambles, but no, at a certain time of year, you've got blackberries.
Mm. They're all over the place.
Then there's insects.
Mushrooms.
So, and then there's, you can collect water quite easily in this country. So you're just down to shelter, really, and safety.
I almost feel that human civilization has come too far and is just raping the earth of everything that it could possibly have to offer, and we need to scale it right back.
Well, of course.
Scale it right back.
Yeah, totally.
And because it's just a fact that if all the countries on the earth lived the way that a lot of the so-called civilised, first world countries do, there wouldn't be enough to go round. Simply wouldn't be, because, we just use too much.
So basically, we want to take this minimalism and just keep applying it. Everything to everything. You minimise your way out of the house in the end. Well, this is the advantage of minimalism. You don't have to work out where it's going. You just have to take off the next layer.
Yeah, it's working.
And then once you've revealed that, there's another layer, and take off that, and just keep taking off the layers. That's it. You don't have to know where you're going.
Well, it suits us down to the ground, then, eh?
Just have to keep taking off the layers.
Anyway.
I think that's it, really.
Yeah.
So, there we go. I don't know. Back on minimalism again.